the main reasons that I picked up the Fujifilm X-M5 was to serve as my primary in-studio camera to film YouTube videos. But doing so takes more than just a camera. Over the past couple of months, I've been carefully piecing together the setup that I'll be using to do this, and I think it's finally finished. I'm actually filming this introduction on it right now, and I think it's working great. Stick around and I'll guide you through every step of the build, explaining the accessories I've chosen, why I've selected them, and also showing you how to assemble everything into a fully functional setup. Alright guys, I rearranged the studio a little bit so that I could show you how to build this setup as I talk about it. And I'm now filming on the X-H2 instead of the X-M5, just so you know this is no longer coming out of that camera. I'm doing that because the X-M5 will be mounted to this tripod as I show you how to build my in-studio setup. The first requirement was a sturdy tripod. I don't want to spend too much time on this. This is my Really Right Stuff still photography tripod with a ball head. This is a very expensive, very premium tripod, but it's not made for video work. It doesn't have a fluid head or any video specific features. Now in studio, locked off for shots like we're doing right now, that's just fine. But I do plan to invest in a video tripod in the future, but for now this is working just fine. I don't have a need to spend the money. Moving on to the main part of the setup, obviously, we have the Fujifilm X-M5 that I built all of this around. I chose this camera specifically because it's the cheapest camera from Fujifilm that has their latest generation face and eye tracking features. I rely on the face eye detect to keep me in focus as I move around in these talking head videos, and it works so good on these latest generation cameras that it was worth investing in. Now, you'll see that the X-M5 is mounted inside of a SmallRig retro cage. Frankly, this cage is a little pricey. It's about $100 from SmallRig. Now, they did send this one over to me for free to review, but I'm going to give you my honest opinions on it. That's just who I am, and they don't get to see this video beforehand. They have no control over what I say, and it's made very well. This is a great cage. I really don't have anything terrible to say about it. I don't particularly love the retro finish. It looks very nice. It's just not my style per se. I would have rather had a plain black one that was a little simpler, but this is the only one on the market that I could find right now for this camera at all, right? Now, the reason that I got a cage at all to put on it for this setup was that I needed a mount on top of the camera here where I could secure a top handle, and the reasons for that will become clear later. That's the only reason I need the cage. So all the other features, all these other mounting points, and this fancy little multi-tool in here, the cold shoes, all of the fanciness that comes with the cage is not really something that I'm going to use. But this cage is very well made, it's very versatile, and I like that it goes on and off the camera easily. There's only one screw on the bottom into the tripod mount, and then there's a little thing on the side here. You have to loosen up a screw and slide it up into the strap lug and then tighten it back down. If I'm being honest, I've never even tightened that down. I just put it into the cage with the bottom screw, and for what I'm doing here in studio, not moving around, that's plenty secure. So it's one screw in and out of the cage, really nice. Big fan of that. It has a built-in Arca Swiss style plate on the bottom here, and so I don't need an additional plate. It just snaps onto the tripod. I really like that feature of it. And it also allows you to change the battery without taking the cage off, which is really nice because the position of the tripod screw on the X-M5 is such that if you're using a traditional tripod plate on the bottom of the camera, there's no way to do that without, you have to take the plate off in order to change the battery, which is really frustrating. So that's about it for the cage. I'm a pretty big fan of it. They did send it over free, and I thank them for that, but it's not something I was super excited about. It's not really, a cage isn't really my type of thing. I was hoping to not have to use one at all. But like I said, I needed the mount for that top handle. And so that top handle here is my Leo photo. This is the one that I had for my X-H2 cage. It matches the cage I have for that. Sorry, SmallRig, for bringing another brand into this, but it's what I had laying around, and I just didn't want to spend money on a different one just to match the cage. Nobody's going to see it. It lives in the studio, and it only exists to mount a couple of things on, so not a big deal to me. Now, my lens of choice for this camera, for my in-studio setup here, is the Fuji 18mm f1.4. I chose this lens because it's the right focal length for my small little spare bedroom studio that I'm working in here. And it has an f1.4 maximum aperture, which is great for two things. One, it gives me that really nice background separation. I would tell you that you see right now, but currently this is being shot at 2.8 on my Tamron 17-70. And so you can see the background here is a little bit more in focus. If you were to go back to the beginning clip of this video where I was filming on this lens and the X-M5 for the intro, you'll see the background has much more separation, it's a lot more blurred out and looks nicer. The f1.4 also has one other practical feature, which is that my main key light that's up here is an Amaran, I think it's a 60D, don't quote me, I'm not really a video nerd here, but it's only a 60 watt second video light. Is it watt seconds? I'm not sure how they measure it. It's a 60 whatever video light, so it's not very powerful. It's on full power right now, and I'm filming this. I had to step up to like ISO 640 on my XH2 to film it at f2.8, right? So I don't have a super powerful video light, and so shooting at f1.4 saves me from having to invest more money on that side of the house. Now, this lens has ultra fast, ultra quiet autofocus. And it's actually combined with these new Fuji bodies. I've never, in one of these talking head videos, seen it lose focus, jump to the background, any of that. Unless I put my hand out in front of my face, it doesn't lose focus. It's very good, and obviously this is a different lens we're filming on, but these new Fuji cameras with a modern fast focusing lens, they work really well. So I'm going to go ahead and mount this on the camera. And that's it for the lens. Moving on, we're going to talk about the AndyCine X5 top monitor. Originally, I was going to use my old, I have an old Fieldworld monitor I'm using right now to film this video. But frankly, I've never been a huge fan of it. It's really cheap and plasticky feeling. I don't remember what I paid for it. I think it was like $120. Like, I could be wrong. But there were things I hated about that monitor. The mount is like an arm that comes down under. I'll throw up some B-roll here so you can see it. And there's no quarter 20 threads in the monitor body itself. And so the only way to mount it is with that big funky arm. There's no way to mount it right to a cold shoe with a really neat setup. And it just feels super plasticky. All the connection points have kind of come loose on it. And it's not a touch screen, so navigating through like the menu with some of the really cheap buttons in the menu system was always kind of terrible. I was never a huge fan of it. But I wasn't going to spend money on it, if I'm being completely honest. I was just going to use it in studio here. It would have been fine. And then AndyCine reached out to me and wanted me to review this monitor. And God's honest truth, I initially declined. They said, hey, we've got this new monitor. It cost $179 or $200 at the time, and we'd really like to send you one to review. And I said, hey, I appreciate it. I'm not a video guy. I don't know jack about these external monitors other than they plug into the camera and let me see myself. And so I really didn't think I was the best person to review it. They emailed me back and kind of insisted that they were okay with that. It didn't need to be a full in-depth review. And they just kind of wanted to get my impressions of what I thought of it. And so I upgraded my monitor for free. I'm not complaining. Thank you, AndyCine. Let me tell you about this thing a little bit. So compared to the Fieldworld, it has this really, really nice, simple little friction monitor mount. It's a lot like the SmallRig ones or ones you've seen maybe featured by Gerald Undone or some of these other big YouTube channels. But this seems to be their own in-house brand, or at least they bought it from somebody. It doesn't have any branding on it. But it mounts the monitor into the cold shoe very nicely. Tightens right down, and then with friction, you can just adjust the angle of it however you want, and it just stays there. You don't have to loosen any screws down or anything. You just put it on. If you want to adjust the angle, you just do it, which is really, really nice. And now this monitor is made entirely out of aluminum. It has a really, really solid feel in the hand. Like, I could use this thing as a weapon. I'm not going to say that I don't know how to hold up to drops and being abused. I don't know what the internals are like, but the outside of this monitor is extremely, extremely well made, and I'm a big fan of the construction of it. The buttons feel premium, and it has a 1920 by 1080 touchscreen display. It's 5.5 inches diagonally, and it has great picture quality, and it is a touchscreen. So if I turn it on here, we'll power it up. Takes a second to turn on. And if I open the menu system, you'll see that I can navigate. I think you have to use the button to open the menu system. But once I'm in there, I can navigate it all via touchscreen, and it works super well. It's just way more intuitive to use than the old Field World monitor was. And, you know, I've always wanted a nice monitor, but I never wanted to spend $500-600 or more on some of these high-end name brand ones that you see pushed all the time in ads. So I think this one is like a really nice middle ground. You spend, right now it's selling for $179 on Amazon. There's actually a $15 off coupon when I just looked today as well. And I think this is a great value. There is one thing I have to criticize AndyCine here for, though, and it feels a little bit like false advertising, if I'm being honest. The box, let me just grab it for you. The box for this advertises in huge letters here, 4K. And if you go to the ad for this monitor on Amazon, it advertises 4K. And so, honestly, up until like 20 minutes before I made this review video, I thought this was a 4K monitor. It's not. Fine print under the 4K says 4K HDMI in/out, which means that it can do 4K pass-through to a recorder or another monitor or something. It can pass through 4K signal, but the display is only 1920 by 1080. And I looked very closely for a while when I figured this out. I assure you that 1920 by 1080 isn't anywhere on this box. It's just not there. If you go to the Amazon listing, to be fair, in the description, it's one of the top specifications, 1920 by 1080 screen. But it's not made abundantly clear looking at things at first glance. And it just kind of feels disingenuous to me. I'm not a huge fan of that. I don't think they're outright lying, but it just doesn't sit super well the way they presented that. And it seems to me like they're trying to pass it off as a 4K monitor, which I don't love. It does have quarter 20 mounts in 3 sides, so if I wanted to, I could move this to the side and mount it vertically, or you could mount it upside down. There's a lot of different ways you can mount this. Big fan of that. As far as power, you can power it on the back with an NPF battery. It comes with one NPF battery that powers it just fine. But you can also power it on the side here. This is a DC 12 volt in port, the standard little round connector. And on the bottom, you have a DC 5 volt in. I've found that to be really handy. That's a USB-C port, by the way, because if I'm filming in studio here, something longer, I can just plug this into like a cell phone battery bank or like the wall with a cell phone charger and power it that way, and it'll go forever. I don't have to worry about the battery dying. I actually like to use a big external battery bank and plug into the camera and the monitor with all of it and just power it all externally, so I don't have to worry about batteries dying at all. It makes these videos way more relaxing to film because I'm not constantly peeking over and trying to keep an eye on the battery life. Final note about this this AndyCine monitor, it comes with a really nice, do I have it around here somewhere? It comes with a really nice case, and I'll do some B-roll up on the screen of this, but this has a really nice padded section on the inside of it to protect the monitor with a little flap that keeps the monitor from getting damaged. And then the other half of the case has a zippered mesh area where you can put the accessories in, like the little cold shoe mount, the battery, some cables. And it actually comes with a USB-C cable, a full-size HDMI cable, and a micro HDMI to full-size HDMI cable. And I've got to say, the latter, actually, that micro USB-C to full-size USB-C cable, actually kind of saved my ass when I put the setup together, because I ordered a very nice $25 purple Gerald Undone edition cable from Condor Blue on Amazon. And now, let's be clear, this cable, extremely premium, big fan. I actually have another one that's full-size HDMI on both ends for my XH2, and I'm a huge fan of these cables. They're so nice. I like that they're coiled. They don't make a huge mess. However, this one has a 90-degree, I think you can probably see there, it's a 90-degree turn in the micro HDMI end. And the problem with that is that when you plug it in to the X-M5, that 90-degree turn, the elbow there, actually obstructs the USB-C port. And so it stops me from being able to power the camera externally, and the battery life on this camera is not great for filming these 4K videos. So I rely on the external power. So this cable actually does not work for this setup. I wanted to make that clear in case you guys were trying to get a little fancy and order a nice 90-degree cable. I've actually been using this cable, which is a perfectly fine but cheap generic micro HDMI to HDMI cable that came with the monitor. And it works just fine because it's a straight micro HDMI that doesn't interfere with the USB-C port. So this just plugs in down here on the bottom of the camera, and the other end plugs into the HDMI on the monitor, and just like that, you power everything on and the monitor will connect to the camera. If you guys have any questions about the AndyCine monitor, let me know, but I'm far from a spec expert. If you're interested in it, go ahead and check out the affiliate link in the description below. That will also have all of the exact specs listed as far as the LUTs and profiles and gamma log. I am not a video expert. I'm a still photographer. This is a foreign world to me. I know just enough video stuff to get myself in trouble and film these YouTube videos, and that's about it, right? But ultimately, this is a huge upgrade from my Field World monitor, and I highly recommend it based on my experience so far. Moving on to my audio. My audio for all of my YouTube videos is recorded on a DJI Mic 2 wireless microphone system. So you can see I'm wearing a lav mic here, and then I have the receiver for it clipped down on my pants pocket. That transmits wirelessly to the little receiver unit here, and I'll power this on. I'm actually recording internally because I wanted this in the video. But you can see as I talk, the levels are going here, so now it's receiving the signal. And then I actually mount this up on the side of this top handle here on the X-M5. That way when I'm filming, I can keep an eye on the levels and make sure the audio is still functioning properly, right? Now that doesn't guarantee it's coming into the camera, but at least I know the wireless signal is still intact, right? And then this little cable just comes with it, plugs in here, and then to the back of the camera in the microphone port. And just like that, now I would have audio recording into the camera. I chose the wireless mic over a shotgun mic just because in this small office, I found that it is a little echoey to try to use any shotgun mics. I could probably soundproof this office. I've already got some moving blankets hung on the walls and stuff to try to make it less echoey. And I just found that the DJI wireless mic system was the easiest way to get good audio without having to really think about it too much. It's also really nice for on-location filming as well, if I'm going to be further from the camera, or if it's windy out. I just really like this microphone system. It's super versatile. I could use it to do interviews, which I have some plans for in the future. But again, it mounts to the top handle, and there's actually, I had to put on a little SmallRig locking cold shoe adapter to just slide this on and off there. Simple little thing off Amazon, costs a couple bucks. I'll link that as well. But yeah, that's my audio setup. And now again, like I said, external power. I power this entire setup externally. So the monitor and the camera would both be plugged into USB-C cables. Unfortunately, those USB-C cables are currently powering my XH2, which is filming this, so I'm just going to simulate that for you. I'm sure you can imagine me plugging those in. And finally, we've got to move on to the Elgato Teleprompter, which I'm currently filming on so that you can not be bothered by me looking all over the place trying to find my notes. So I'm just going to go ahead and take that off and come right back. All right, so now we're still filming, and the Elgato Teleprompter is now in my hand. You can see the text for this video right here. Look at that. Finally, the Elgato Teleprompter. And so I promise I'm not going to read this word for word. It's going to get a little bit jarring here since I'm going to have to look over to my laptop for my notes. But this teleprompter just drops onto this adapter ring that's on the lens and sits here just like that. And congratulations, now you can read my notes for the rest of the video if you want to. In fact, let's power the X-M5 on. Let's power the monitor on. Oh, screensaver. And now you can see a little bit of my XH2 in the setup I'm filming with, right? And so this is my final form. That's kind of what I see when I'm filming these videos on this new setup. And I find that it works really well. Now, the Elgato Teleprompter, like I said, mounts to the front of that lens using a special step-up ring. And it's the reason why the top handle is required, right? Because I needed to elevate this monitor up high enough to see over the shroud of the teleprompter. I tried it initially without the cage and the top handle to keep things simple, and it just obstructed the monitor and I couldn't see it, which I guess I don't strictly need to see myself, but I really like having a reference monitor to just make sure things are still looking good and going well. And as you can, I guess you can't really see from that angle, but the side of this teleprompter shroud kind of blocks the X-M5's built-in screen, and so I lose the ability to use that as a reference monitor while I'm filming. Now, a teleprompter isn't strictly required. You could totally film videos without one. This is a new addition. This is only my second video filming with it. However, I chose to add one because I got really sick of doing this. Now, granted, before when I was filming, my laptop was over here directly underneath the lens. But if you go watch my old videos, you can see me constantly looking down to the notes and reading across down here. And it was really jarring. I wasn't making good eye contact and connection with you guys. And I wasn't a big fan of that. I'm trying to be a lot better about looking into the camera lens so that I can communicate with you guys better. And the teleprompter has gone a long way to help that. At least I think so. Let me know if you see a difference between me using one and not using one when I'm going over these points. Back over to my notes. Yeah, I think that's really about it. This is my first teleprompter ever. It plugs into your laptop. I'm using it with my MacBook Pro here. The reason I went with the Elgato is that it has this built-in screen down here. And so I didn't have to go buy a dedicated tablet or try to mount my phone in here and use something. There are cheaper solutions you can find. This isn't the cheapest. It's a few $100s. But I like the fact that it's an all-in-one unit with the built-in screen. It has its own software. It all works kind of well together. I will caution you, I bought it. Another big reason I went with this one is that it has the voice tracking feature where it supposedly is able to scroll the text with your voice as you talk based on AI like voice recognition. And I and a lot of others on the internet currently are having a lot of problems getting that to work properly. It'll work fine sometimes, then stop. Sometimes you can't get it to work at all. Hopefully they come out with a firmware update and a patch on that. Some people are saying that if you use your AirPods as the microphone and have them in your ears, then it works, but I think I would look like a massive dork if I was talking to you guys with AirPods in my ears. I'm old school, I don't really like that. But yeah, that's the teleprompter. This is the entire setup. I'm just going to unplug the teleprompter so we're free here, and I'm going to just spin this ball head around so you can see the whole thing. This is certainly taking away from the compact form factor of the X-M5, but I do think that it really allows me to step up the quality of these videos, right? So yeah, this is what I'll be using to film all of my videos in studio going forward, and probably some out in the real world, just not the teleprompter and the whole setup, just the camera, maybe monitor or something. Pro tip, when you are using the teleprompter app and you unplug the teleprompter, you lose your notes on screen as well. So I don't actually know if I had more to say. There's one other thing I want to tell you about in relation to the teleprompter. I told you that the voice tracking stuff doesn't work that great. And so there are a few things you can do. If you look at the text here, I'll demonstrate. I can turn on constant scroll-in mode, where I set a scroll speed and then hit play. And you will see that the text is now scrolling. There's a slider on my screen, and I could adjust the speed of that to make it faster or slower to try to match my speech. I don't personally like that because it never is moving the right speed, right? In a professional television studio or when a politician's giving a speech or something, the teleprompter is actually controlled by someone who usually manually controls the level of the text to match where the speaker is. And so trying to do it just to a constant speed kind of sucks. But I need my hands free. I can't just be manually scrolling, right? Elgato thought of this. They made this, I don't even remember what this is called. It's a foot pedal stream deck thing. I'll link to it in the description. But this is basically a foot pedal system that goes under the desk, sits on the floor like this. And in order to scroll, you can set this up different ways, but I have the 3 keys on this set up. So the center button is play, pause. And so you'll see it just paused. If I push it again, it begins to play. Right? I'll pause it, and now it's not moving. The left and right keys respectively, the left scrolls backwards and goes up the text, and the right goes forward or down the text. And the nice thing is that when this sits on the floor in front of me, I just put it where it's comfortable, and as I speak, I can then just tap on the right pedal and move the text along with where I'm at. If I want to play and have it auto scroll, I can just tap play. If it's going too fast, I can pause it. And I can go the other way and back up if I need to redo something. And so I can kind of focus more on my interacting with you guys and delivering content than on, trying to match perfectly the speed of the teleprompter or something. And so I really like that. It works really well, but I really hope they get the issue with the voice sync worked out, because that's just easier still, right? If you're going to get one of these for now, I highly recommend the foot pedal to go with it. It's like another, I think it was $60 or $80, don't quote me. I'm back to filming on the setup that I just showed you now, so you can see the results and provides one more time. I should mention that I'm only showing you the camera-centric setup today and didn't dive into my lighting or studio layout, both of which are also important to the look of the video you're seeing right now. Now, I do acknowledge that I'm far from a professional when it comes to video production, so if you see something that I can improve, please let me know in the comments. If you're interested in any of the gear that I use to build this setup, you'll find affiliate links in the description below. Using those links helps to support my channel at no extra cost to you, and it really helps me out. If you found this video helpful, please don't forget to give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing for more content like this. I've got plenty of videos related to photography in general and Fujifilm gear coming out in the near future, so stay tuned.